Under Friday night lights, a lot has changed since a little more than 2 weeks ago. It all begins on October 14th in the small town of Sparta, Georgia. Two rival teams battled for dominance under the lights, but another battle outside the lines between the Warren County Blue Devils and the Hancock Central Bulldogs will be the one remembered.
We're only 22 miles away. It's bragging rights. Whoever wins has bragging rights for 364 days.
Zachary Harris is the head football coach for Hancock Central.
You can't really look at it in isolation. It started the week before.
He says during a previous game between his team and another opponent, Warren County players showed up and sprinkled taunts at the Bulldogs, and during the week both teams turned to Facebook to do the same.
There was a whole little conversation that I knew nothing about that had gone on between some of the players.
I had heard it. Plenty of people was like they had planned it, or like they was planning on doing it while we was shaking hands or whatever.
But after the game, nothing happened when the two teams did shake. Warren County came out on top 21-2.
We walked off the field onto the track, and we walked off the track all the way up towards the locker room, and we get to the locker room, and the locker room was locked.
The Warren County manager with the key couldn't be found, and that's when Warren senior Edricus Williams turned around, startled by a commotion. He says he saw a number of Hancock players aggressively cornering two Warren players.
They just started rushing, and when they rushed, I stepped up and pushed the guy because he was coming in so fast from the side to where he could have just simply knocked out both of them. So to prevent that from happening, I pushed the dude. And
that's when a fight broke out. Williams said in a matter of minutes, Hancock County law enforcement showed up.
I get pushed by police, and he's like, "Get your A back, get your A back."
And then they say the pepper spraying began.
They were really sprayed pretty much point blank.
It's like they on this side, we on this side, the police in the middle, with they back turned to them, spraying at us.
And as one Warren County player struggled to clear his eyes, Warren County says that's when a Hancock Central player smashed him in the back of the head with a helmet. As the Hancock player reloaded to swing again, they say that's when their head coach, David Daniels, stepped in.
I was hit pretty hard.
So hard that it knocked him out. After losing a tear duct and having his face rebuilt, he's doing better now.
I can't do a lot right now. I don't have a lot of energy. It's been tough.
That night, Coach Daniel was rushed to University Hospital, and the fight was ultimately stopped. But now a giant rift between two schools as the GBI investigates.
The GBI, they have trained investigators, and they're impartial. And part of what we're most concerned about has to do with the actions of uniformed security people.
Warren County School Superintendent Carol Jean Curry was also there that night. In this document we've obtained, she makes her case to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. And in the 7-page report, shocking new allegations about how everything unfolded that night.
When we returned to the school that night, I was given a phone, or I got a phone from one of our players, and there were the text messages sent from Mr. Blunt's phone number.
We're told Marlo Blunt is a volunteer coach for Hancock Central. Superintendent Carey reads directly from copies she says were taken of the texts.
It says, "How the I know all about y'all little you started this last week. Remember, you started this." And then at 11:25, "You started this." And at 11:29, "Better stay your stupid ass in Warren County before someone really gets hurt." And at 11:42, "Right, keep your ass in Warren County this weekend." Those are the messages that I have.
Back in Hancock County, Superintendent Gwendolyn Reeves hasn't seen the messages, but says punishment will have to result if they're true.
Of course, it has to be if it is true.
She says no players have been suspended, but after the GBI investigation concludes, they'll be punished as needed.
Whomever is responsible will be punished according to our policies and the student handbook. Absolutely.
But Warren County's goal is holding law enforcement responsible too. One witness statement reported in the document describes the whole altercation as, quote, police brutality.
I just felt like our kids were not treated in a manner that they should have been treated.
Dr. Cavius Preston is principal at Warren County High. In a sworn affidavit also attained, Dr. Preston reports a confrontation he ran into with law enforcement.
He went to uniformed officers to ask for their help in getting our children safely on the bus.
The affidavit states those two officers were a Hancock County Sheriff's deputy and Hancock County School District Police Chief Glenn Ingram. It states that the deputy replied to Dr. Preston saying, "I don't care who you are, get your ass back before I whip your ass with this club."
And both of them reiterated what had just been said and sort of drew those batons or whatever they were.
A deputy reportedly pulled a baton on...
No, sir, that's not true as well.
We tracked down Hancock County Sheriff Tomlin Primus to ask him if his men did anything wrong.
We enforce the law to the best of our ability to get the situation under control.
But back in Warren County, Williams isn't buying it. He says he was pepper sprayed 4 times. He says the first 3 times were indirect hits, but it was the 4th time that was so surreal.
My mom, she was out there and she saw what was going on. And she said she saw me like this, like when I was falling back. She saw me, so she ran over there. And she grabbed me from behind, and she was trying to tell to the police, like, this is my son, I have him, I got him. So the police sprayed both of us. And after he did that, I'm like, that was like uncalled for.
And Carrie says in most of the other 41 witness statements she took, the Warren students felt that they were targeted by law enforcement.
No, sir, that is not true. If you know anything, if people understand that when you are being pepper sprayed or when pepper sprayed is sprayed, it does not discriminate on who it hits.
He couldn't sit there and say that they weren't targeting us because I did not see not one Sparta player in person get sprayed. I did not see one on Facebook saying how they got sprayed. None of that. All I saw was Warren County people. I got sprayed. I got sprayed. Did you get sprayed? I got sprayed. I got sprayed bad.
But whatever the investigation concludes, both parties are sure about one thing: that a football game is never worth the amount of pain and frustration that this one has caused.
Sometimes the rivalries are taken too seriously.
This is devastating, very devastating, and it has really placed a dark cloud over the community.